Hello and welcome to Tax Matters. We begin by commiserating with all Nigerians and in particular the Nigerian Armed Forces on the demise of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Ibrahim Attairu, and other Army and Air Force officers in the ill-fated crash that occurred on Friday the 21st of May 2021 in Kaduna. The crash occurred just as the 23rd Annual Tax Conference was being rounded off in the very city of Kaduna. May the souls of the departed rest in peace. On this episode of Tax Matters, we will be telling you two stories, that of the 23rd Annual Tax Conference as well as that of the retreat held some time ago in Abuja by the Tax Appeal Tribunal on new strategies for tax dispute resolution. My name is Chamaka Ohauchi and I'll be taking you through the stories. Times are changing and the tax system is not immune from the change. It all began with the onset of COVID-19, which all over the world has affected the way things are done. Businesses, family life, travels. Today, our two stories will revolve around how the changing times have affected tax administration, assessment, collection, accounting, arbitration. We begin with the Tax Appeal Tribunal. The Tax Appeal Tribunal was established pursuant to Section 59, subsection 1 of the 5th Schedule to the FRS Establishment Act 2007. In line with that law, and as part of the general reform of the Nigeria tax system, the TAT took off formally on the 1st of February 2010. Operational in 8 zones across the country, the first set of the zonal tribunals sat for 6 years, made up of 2 terms of 3 years each. Due to some unforeseen circumstances, new tribunals were not immediately inaugurated at the expiration of the tenure of the first set. On Monday, the 5th of November 2018, 50 men and women were formally inaugurated as commissioners for the 8 zones of the TAT spread across Abuja, the FCT, Lagos, and the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. Between Thursday the 29th and Friday the 30th of April 2021, the TAT held a retreat in Abuja to strategize for the future. Welcoming participants to the retreat, Mrs. Bolanle Onyongi, Coordinating Secretary, TAT, seized the opportunity to give a scorecard of the activities of the TAT in the year 2020 as well as in Q1 2021.
The tribunal within the last year has, despite the COVID pandemic, has achieved a modest achievement in the resolution of disputes that came up before the various zones of the tribunal. The tribunal has resolved about 79 cases with approximated tax disputes over 104 billion naira, 700 million and $84 million, 692,000 in a period of January to December last year. As at January to March 2021, the concluded cases in the Lagos zone is about 9. And we have about 71 cases pending. In the Enugu, we have concluded 2 matters. In Ibadan, we have concluded 3 matters. In South Benin, 3 matters. In Kaduna, we have concluded 5 matters. And in Bauchi, 1 matter concluded. This is outside some matters that are penciled down for settlements out of the tribunal.
The opening ceremony had in attendance representatives of the Honorable Federal Minister of Finance and the Minister of Justice, the Executive Chairman FRS, the President CITN, and representatives of the NBA, Nasima and Anan. The Executive Chairman FRS, who was ably represented at the event by the Coordinating Director, Executive Chairman's Group, Mr. M.L. Abubakar, succinctly captured the work of the TAT in the scheme of things.
As we are aware, dispute resolution mechanism is an integral part of any tax system, and in Nigeria, the law provides a multi-layer mechanism for the resolution of any dispute that may arise from administration of tax laws. The Tax Appeal Tribunal, being the first external window for the resolution of any tax dispute, is crucial in determining the efficiency, effectiveness, and transparency of the tax dispute process. Your decision and judgment form the basis upon which an aggrieved party may further appeal to the Federal High Court, the Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court, as the case may be. This means that the quality of your decision must be very high, reliable, and devoid of ambiguities in order to stand the test of future legal argument at the court. I recommend that the TAT should consider amending its procedural rules to provide for an accelerated hearing, adoption of alternative dispute resolution for non-contentious issues, and provide a timeline for resolution of any appeal brought before it. Following the amendment of the relevant section of the FRS Establishment Act 2007 and in the 2020 Finance Act to allow for virtual sittings by the TAT, may I use this opportunity to call on the commissioners to embrace technology. This has become very pertinent if members and tribunal must deliver on its mandate and remain relevant in this information and knowledge age.
And from the representative of the Attorney General.
The work of the Tax Appeal Tribunal is very, very important and critical. Just as it has been from the beginning, so it is today. So Tax Appeal Tribunal, we recognize that you are doing a very difficult job in any society. And in the context of that, having this type of deliberation and conference is very important, because from the theme, Tax Appeal Tribunal in changing times, things are changing. COVID has shown us that we cannot afford to be rigid. We cannot afford to do things the way we have always done it. Times are changing. Coupled with the work that we do, that people do not ordinarily want to pay taxes, and they will look for ways after tax planning to even evade. So your work is, like I said, recognized as a very tough job, and this kind of conference is very important.
In the course of the two-day retreat, several papers were presented, all aimed at repositioning the TAT for the new normal. Against the background of the lockdown occasioned by the outbreak of COVID-19 in the year 2020, we sought for an update on the activities of the tribunal in the period 2020 to 2021 from the coordinating secretary.
What's the idea behind the theme of this Tax Appeal Tribunal retreat?
The idea behind this is to embrace the change which we have all found ourselves in the world. With this pandemic, a lot of narratives have changed. So we have to embrace the new developments and be able to absorb ourselves to the new reality.
We would like to know, how are the zones doing in this period of the pandemic?
These zones are doing fairly well, because we cannot deny the fact that the pandemic has affected a lot of activities, including businesses and the proceedings at the various zones of the Tax Appeal Tribunal. Like during the lockdown, the tribunal was not able to sit. So, but now we have looked forward that in case this type of incidents happens in future, there is a way we can go about it without coming together. So we can have a virtual sitting. And the Finance Act, section 57 of the Finance Act has amended paragraph 20 of the 5th schedule of the FRS Act that makes give a provision that the tribunal can now hold a virtual sitting.
Now, finally, before we let you go, what are the advantages of the taxpayers or the tax authorities or the general public approaching the Tax Appeal Tribunal?
The advantage is that when you go to the Tax Appeal Tribunal, as a taxpayer, you can come and file your case before the Tax Appeal Tribunal. You don't need to hire a lawyer as it applies in regular courts. You can appear for yourself. Your accountant can appear for you. Your tax advisor can appear for you. And then the Tax Appeal Tribunal is not like a regular court. There is no, all the technicalities that are applicable in the courts are not applicable in the Tax Appeal Tribunal. At the Tax Appeal Tribunal, we have lawyers, accountants, public administrators, and even some businessmen that are sitting as a panel at the Tax Appeal Tribunal. So it's devoid of the technicalities that is applicable in the courts.
Tax Matters also spoke to the chairman of the zonal tribunals for an update on how COVID-19 has affected the work of their zones, the impact of the Finance Acts 2019 and 2020, and other matters. These interviews will come to you in the next episode of the program. Permit us to round off on this note of endorsement from the president of the CITN, Dame Olajumoke Simplis.
TAT is becoming an institution of repute. It's in line with the vision of TAT. It says to be a dynamic tax dispute resolution center worthy of public trust and confidence. And that is what is happening. Taxpayers are already building confidence and are ready to go to tax appeal tribunals. And that is the way it should be.
TAT on the move. The story continues.
So there is nothing we can do. I can't believe this. Last year I let it go. This year my tax assessment is even worse. They keep doing this because they know there is no one we can complain to.
But there is.
Really?
Yes. You can go to the Tax Appeal Tribunal.
Tax Appeal Tribunal?
Yes.
The Tax Appeal Tribunal is established to resolve all tax disputes between taxpayers and the Revenue Authority. So when your tax disputes are not resolved to your satisfaction, the Tax Appeal Tribunal is there to help. You can visit any of our offices nationwide or email info@tat.gov.ng for support. Tax Appeal Tribunal, building confidence in Nigeria's tax system.
Thank you for staying with us. The Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria held its 23rd Annual Tax Conference in Kaduna, Kaduna State between Tuesday the 18th and Friday the 21st of May 2021. The Annual Tax Conference has a long history. The first Annual Tax Conference was held in Ibadan in the year 1999. In the year 2000, the Annual Tax Conference ship was anchored at Abuja and continued to sail in and out of Abuja for more than a decade before moving to Calabar in 2013, Uyo in 2014, Abeokuta in 2017, and Lagos in 2020. From the 18th to the 21st of May 2021, Governor Nasiru El-Rufai led the government and good people of Kaduna State to host taxmen and women from across Nigeria and indeed the whole world at the 23rd Annual Tax Conference. It was well attended both physically and virtually. They call it hybrid now. The annual tax conference began in the evening of Tuesday, the 18th of May, with a hospitality night at which delegates were welcomed to Kaduna and to the conference. At the hospitality night, district societies took turns to display their other sides. On Wednesday, the 19th of May, the opening ceremony took place at the Umar Musaya Adwa Square, Kaduna. Dr. Mrs. Titi Fowoko, Chairman 23rd Annual Tax Conference Planning Committee, welcomed participants.
The theme of this year's conference, Taxation for Economic Recovery, a necessity for social engagement and economic sustainability, is apt, considering that our economy is recovering from the impact of the pandemic. Nigeria's 2021 budget of over 14 trillion budget of economic recovery and resilience aligns with the focus of our 2021 conference. Over the next 2 days, our sessions and discussions shall cover topical issues around the tax environment, both in our domestic space and international landscape. According to Benjamin Franklin, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. This is why we are here, and I'm confident that each session of this conference will give participants the opportunity to earn the best interest for investing in coming for this conference or joining virtually. Welcome on board flight number ATC KAD 2021 for the 23rd Annual Tax Conference of Challenge of Taxation of Nigeria. Please fasten your seatbelt as the flight is about to take off. We look forward to your active participation throughout the conference. Thank you very much.
This was closely followed by the address of the CITM President.
Your Excellency, this is a promise made, a promise fulfilled. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we want in Nigeria. A promise made, a promise fulfilled. An order given, an order obeyed. The governor ordered us to come to Kaduna. Your Excellency, sir, here we are in Kaduna. Thank you very much. The pandemic has not come without its economic consequences for households, businesses, institutes, and governments. It is for this and other considerations that the institutes come up with the theme of this year's conference, that is, Taxation for Economic Recovery, a necessity for social engagement and economic sustainability. It mirrors the challenge we face as a nation today and will hopefully serve as a pathfinder to the national discourse around taxation and citizen engagement for economic recovery in that state.
The high point of the opening ceremony was the keynote address of the special guest of honor and chief host, Governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai.
Let me thank the Institute for inviting me to deliver this welcome address of a special kind to Kaduna, welcome you to Kaduna. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, I firmly believe that a country of taxpayers is more likely than not to perform optimally. The tax net in Nigeria has captured only a minority of Nigerians who pay income tax. Paying tax is an ingredient of active citizenship. And we need to decide as a country whether the efforts to widen the tax net to include more citizens can succeed with the different strategies, or we are better off pivoting to tax consumption rather than income taxation. We have witnessed in the last 1 year a global pandemic that has slowed economic growth, affected tax collections, and the prosperity of our people. I am pleased to observe that with the collective efforts of all Nigerians and our public health authorities, we've been able so far to contain the impact of COVID-19 on our lives and livelihoods. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, in the last few months, we have seen a rapid deterioration of oil revenues contribution to the Federation account. Indeed, I have been informed by our Commissioner of Finance that at the last Federation account allocation meeting, it was Federal Inland Revenue Service and the Customs Service that saved Nigeria. The only way to finance the running of government and provide social services is through taxation. And the people sitting here are the officers and men and women that are in the war front of collecting taxes for the survival of our country. I urge you to continue doing what you're doing. It's a thankless job, but someone has to do it, and we're very proud to have you, and we love all of you. I'm speaking here on behalf of all state governors.
Malam El-Rufai concluded with these four poses.
Let me end by remarks by raising four issues for consideration of the Institute as we face this rapid deterioration in oil revenues. First, in light of the fact that 75% of Nigeria's economy is informal, how do we scale up the taxation of the informal sector? I think some progress has been made with presumptive taxation, but it is not enough. I task your institute to come up with ways and means of scaling up the taxation of the informal sector. Secondly, agriculture accounts for a large proportion of our GDP. Here in Kaduna State, like in many states of the Federation, agriculture is the largest employer of labor and largest contributor to GDP. But it is incapable of being taxed at the farm gate. How do we tax agricultural production at the farm gate, not at the value-added or processing stage, so that we'll be able to widen and broaden our tax net as well as proceeds? Thirdly, how do we scale up tax identification records so that we capture every adult in Nigeria for the purposes of taxation? I think a lot of work has gone on with TIN, there is BVN, there is National Identity Management Commission, there are driver licenses, passports. I think there is a great opportunity to bring all these databases together and use an AFIS system to have a database of all adults in Nigeria and where they live for the purpose of helping the tax authorities to collect taxation. So how do we achieve that in the shortest possible time? And finally, the big elephant in the room is how do we tax these global tech companies that make a lot of money in our countries without being physically present here for you to even tax them? How do you tax Uber, for instance, that is just a platform for transportation, but based in California? How do we tax the fintech companies that make so much money, yet are invisible to our tax authorities and to our nation? How do we tax these offshore firms that make a lot of money from our economies without giving much back? These four questions, I think, are issues that I believe the Chartered Institute of Taxation can deliberate upon and help the governments of Nigeria to do better in the way of tax collections.
The day began and ended as an intellectual feast, featuring paper presentations and panel discussions. On day 2, the intellectual feast continued. But as they say, all work but no play makes Jack a dull boy. The conference featured networking sessions, panel discussions, sporting activities, and of course, a gala night to round it all off. Next episode, we shall be dwelling in greater details on the papers presented at the conference, and we shall also be bringing you the perspectives of conference participants, as well as the full report of the Rapporteur General. There was also the grand finale of the CITN National Tax Quiz competition. Thank you for watching. Let's meet again next week on this same platform. It promises to be even better than this. Have a great week ahead.